By show of hands, who's experienced a level of burnout over the last 3 years? Everybody else is lying. We know that we all function on a spectrum to peak productivity, peak performance, to burnout. We talk about burnout often as if it's workload only, and we know that is simply untrue. So the WHO, World Health Organization, defines burnout as uncontrolled, unmanaged workplace stress. And researchers quickly jumped on the fact that caregiving burnout was defined in research well before workplace was, and most of us hold both seats. So to assume you're not getting impact of both of those is quite naive. But there's not just workload. Workload, sometimes you can tackle immense amount of work, and sometimes you're going to be limited in your capacity. And workload, same workload on one person versus another person. One person, it could burn out, and the other person, not so much. There's six contributing factors, 5 other ones. And you'll notice that one of them is community. If you have people you can rely on, this will have a protective effect on every single mental distress. Why? There was 2 systematic reviews, studies of all these studies, done about 7 years ago, and they looked at all the behaviors you have control over and what leads to all-cause mortality and morbidity, quality and length of life. I'm an exercise physiologist, so I'm like, exercise cures everything. It's obviously exercise. It was not. Top 2 were social. Number 2 is how many close, deep connections do you have? And number 1 is how integrated you are in your community. And that means in work and outside of work. Do you know your colleagues? Really know your colleagues? Do you know your neighbors? Do you know your barista? Your mail person? Your bartender? Just kidding. That's a different problem. The community in which we consciously create is the thing that leads us to the most healthy life we possibly can live. Our community. In the UK, which they're well advanced in social health, they have a minister of loneliness operating in Parliament, knowing that we need to socially connect. Their social workers are actually social workers. So we get somebody that is meant to connect that person back to community. So in a case study, they looked at an elderly man. He started turning quite bitter, quite rude. His family was backing away from him. He certainly was depressed. And their assignment to him is that he just had to go to the same coffee shop every day. And of course, you start meeting the same people there every day. People start asking you how you are. They start connecting on a human level. That's what social work is in that way. So we know that it has an impact on our mental and physical health. One of the studies I did is how do we effectively take breaks? I am such a type A personality that I don't take breaks well, so I'm like, I'm gonna study them and then I'm gonna break better than everybody else. I'm gonna get all the inner peace. So just interesting facts, the average human adult holds attention for 47 to 55 minutes, okay? And then we need a break or we just take one. Our thoughts start wandering off. So when we looked at the breaks, all breaks were good or null for our mental health or our performance. All improved our mental health or improved our performance or kept them neutral. So like when you think you don't have time for a break, the research absolutely says otherwise. There was one ineffective break. Anybody, before I ask this question, smoking breaks and bathroom breaks were not studied. Any guesses on what an ineffective break was? Social media, so like a combination of what almost everybody said. So when we talk community, when we talk social, we are talking about in-person connections. There is so much great that the internet provides. For example, online shopping. But there's a lot of things it takes away. Why in person? Why do we need to connect in person to get this respite? We're going to dive through some of that literature. But what I found so interesting is the highest ROI, if you have 5 minutes to get respite or like a break for your brain, community, connecting with others was on that list. And what does that mean? So we need this. It is required, but how do we get it? So I feel like you're the right vintage for, not this one, right, I'll come back. So Volunteerism, I know there's many volunteers in this room. There's a unique health benefit of volunteerism, and of course it gets you into the community and connecting in a different way. But we need to be creative about this piece. I did put psychologists here because they are literally paid to connect with you. So as you consciously design how you're gonna connect with people, there's somebody that has to listen to you for an hour. It's fantastic. But I want you to get creative. So this is my daughter, she nailed Shavasana. So she's 6 weeks old in this picture, and what it was in my community is a new mom could come to a yoga class, and women from the retirement community came and took care of your babies. So this was amazing. It was so supportive, and apparently these women love babies. So it was just this win-win for both groups, and that's what I mean by getting creative to create your community, is how can you draw people in and get where you are being supported and filling each other's cups. And if for any of the people that were a new mom at one point, the fact that you knew your baby was there but taken care of by somebody more experienced than you is an amazing feeling.